I'll be talking on handling difficult emotions using mindfulness in problem solving. Now, my last lecture or my last the last video I made about the Calabar Addiction treatment program, I mentioned that you need a helmet, you need a glove one, and you need glove two. And I'm focusing on glove one. And in glove one, we know that you need to practice identifying my triggers, practice avoiding my triggers, and practice handling the craving self. And under practicing avoiding my triggers, there is something called problem solving. So I'm going to be talking on handling different emotions using problem solving, or handling difficult emotions using mindfulness in problem solving. So why is this training module important? It's important because we know that when people have problems always come with emotions, anger, sadness, worry, they're always emotions. And if these problems are persisting or unsolved, it would mean that the emotions themselves would also be persisting. They will not end. And if the emotions are persisting, it also means that you will not be able to concentrate on any other thing until your emotions stabilize. And if your emotions don't stabilize, if they are still persisting, it will be a trigger. We know that we have emotional triggers. So you're angry, you're sad, you are more likely to activate the craving self to want to use drugs. So when you are now triggered, there's a very high chance of a relapse or relapse. So it's important we learn how to handle difficult emotions using problem solving, to be very specific, using mindfulness in problem solving. So there are a couple of steps that we're going to be going through. To the right hand side of this slide, we have two worksheets that we use in the program for this practice. The first one, before we can start the problem solving practice, you need to write down, okay? The second worksheet is the actual problem solving practice worksheet, managing my emotional triggers, the problem solving worksheet. Okay, that's to the right side. Now, the summary is that the first thing you do is to write down at least 10 past situations. Number two, write down the problems linked to the situations. Number three, write down what you want for each situation. And lastly, moving forward. To move forward, you need to know what caused the situation. To move forward, you need to know how you can reduce the negative consequences. To move forward, you need to know how to prevent a repeat of the situation. So we are starting with the first part of the problem solving practice. Now, before we can start the problem solving practice, you must write down at least 10 past situations where you experienced difficult negative emotions. Example, situations where you were betrayed, injustice was done, harm was done to you, or situations where you had conflict with your family members or intimate partners or friends. Now, in writing the situation, you're going to do two things: describe the situation and the emotion, or describe the emotion plus the situation. And we have a list of emotions that we can work with. An example of a statement would be: I was angry, or depressed, or worried, or anxious, or guilty, or ashamed, or afraid, etc. when XYZ happened. And by XYZ, we mean the situation. For example, this example is where we are now describing the situation and then the emotion. Okay. When my girlfriend called me a useless goat in front of my friends, I felt so angry. He doesn't respect me. Now my friends would see me as a weak guy. So the situation, then the emotion. The second example is the emotion plus the situation. I got angry and worried when my husband went out to answer his calls. I think he's talking to a girl. I'm sure he's cheating on me. He doesn't have respect for me. How would a guy who claims to love his wife act this way? It's unacceptable. So, what we don't want to do is to make a statement. For example, I get angry when people talk badly to me. That is not describing a situation. You're just making a statement. So you have an emotion plus a statement. Okay, That is not acceptable. Please don't do that. So in writing the situation, you write the emotion and then you now describe the situation, or describe the situation and then you write down the emotion. So it should be at least 2 lines. Don't just write 1 line. Don't just make a statement, because in that statement, tell me the situations where people spoke angry to you, and then write the emotion. So after you've written down at least 10 past situations, we can now give you a chance to actually do mindfulness in problem solving or problem solving. So there are 4 steps to the problem solving practice. You're writing down the problem situation where you're defining or describing the situation, limiting your description to your 5 senses. I will explain. Number 2, you're going to extract the problem from that problem situation, and you use 3 methods. You use interpretation of the situation as the first method of extraction. You use negative consequences to me, a second method of problem extraction. You use my crazy demands as a third method of problem extraction. The next, you now move forward. Move forward. What do you want? Now, what you want is, you want to know what caused the situation. What you want is, you want to reduce the negative consequences. And lastly, what you want is, you want to prevent a repeat of the situation. Lastly, you write your brainstorming solutions. Each solution would come with at least 2 advantages or pros and 2 disadvantages or cons. So we're in the second worksheet, where we are now talking about the problem situation described using your 5 senses. So what you're doing basically is, you're writing the problem situation by briefly describing the situation only using your 5 senses. For example, I heard, I saw, I touched, I tasted, I smelled. I don't want to hear I felt. When you say I felt, or this means that you have left problem situation to something else. So you're describing the problem using only your 5 senses. For example, when my girlfriend called me a useless goat in front of my friends, I felt so angry. She doesn't respect me now. My friends will see me as a weak guy. The problem situation using your 5 senses: I saw and I heard my girlfriend call me a useless goat. I saw and heard is 2 senses. So I saw and heard the situation. My girlfriend called me useless goat. If you now add, she doesn't respect me. Now my friends will see me as a weak guy. That is not using your 5 senses. Example number 2, I got angry and worried when my husband went out to answer his calls. I think he's talking to a girl. I'm sure he's cheating on me. He doesn't have respect for me. How would a guy who claims to love his wife act this way? It's unacceptable. Problem situation using your 5 senses. I hear my husband tell me, I want to take a call. I'm coming back now. I also saw my husband go out to answer calls. That is the problem situation using your 5 senses. If you're now saying, I think he's talking to a girl, you have gone beyond your 5 senses to interpret. I'm sure he's cheating on me. That is interpretation. He doesn't have respect for me, interpretation. So you don't want to do that. So you limit it to your 5 senses. So we are still on the second section of the worksheet. We are at the point of extracting the problem from the situation. Remember, it is the problem that is causing the emotion. It is the problem that is attached to the emotion. The emotion is coming out because of the problem, not the situation, not the problem situation. So let's now see how to extract the problem itself from the situation and write it down. There are 3 ways of doing it. There's interpretation, there's negative consequences, and then there's my crazy demands. Okay, the very first extraction method is interpretation of events. So you would ask yourself this question to find the problem. What questions, thoughts, or images started playing in your head after the situation occurred? And write your answer down. How they acted in this situation, what did it communicate to you? What did it make you realize? You answer. To reiterate, after they did what did their actions communicate to you? What did it make you realize? So, if you can answer at least two of these questions, you have been able to extract a problem or problems using interpretation. This is why you are experiencing those emotions. The second problem extraction method is negative consequences to me. So you are questioning yourself to find the problem using the second extraction method. You ask yourself these questions. This situation that happened, how will it affect me physically or socially? Physically, maybe the situation involves somebody beating you up, so there are wounds on your body, you know, there are issues. For socially, maybe the situation made people see you in a bad light, so you are now disrespected. Uh, People see you in a bad light. Okay, I don't have money now. That's socially. I cannot buy nice things because this has now made me lose money. So, how will it affect you physically or socially? Some situations can affect you both ways, physically and socially. So, you can also ask, what disadvantage will this situation put me in? You write your answer down. Now, whatever answer that you write down, you keep asking a question, what's so bad about it? So if someone now says that um, my my girlfriend called me a useless goat in front of my friends, disadvantage, my friends will now see me as a weak person. What's so bad about that? It will now mean that they would now ostracize me in their meetings. They will not be taking my advice. I cannot now advise I can't even give them advice anymore on their girlfriends. Okay, what's so bad about it? My rep, my self-esteem will be down. So you keep asking, what's so bad about it till you cannot, there's no more answer again. There, you now have the negative consequence to you. That is the second problem. You have extracted it using the second method. This is also why your emotions are reacting. So the third problem extraction approach is finding the crazy demand or finding if a demand is crazy or not. Okay, so you're questioning yourself by writing any internal or subconscious request you are making in your mind or internal or subconscious demand in this situation. Now, it can look like this. Maybe you are telling yourself that this person should not have acted this way, or this person had no right to act this way, or this person must or should act in such and such a manner, or this person must or should not act in this way. If you find that there are certain demands that look like this in your mind, write it down. My girlfriend slapped me in front of my friends. This girl had no right to act this way towards me. She should have known the right thing to do. That is a demand. Okay. Now you get to know if it is crazy if you are asking the situation to give you what you don't give out sometimes. Have you ever called somebody around a stupid goat? Or have you ever insulted somebody else? An older person, a younger person? If yes, then you are asking the situation to give you what you do not give out sometimes. Number two, in similar situations, do people usually act this way? In relationships, do partners normally insult themselves? Yes. So the chances of a partner insulting another partner is there. Okay. So if you are demanding this, it is crazy if number one, you are asking that this situation give you what you don't normally give out sometimes, or in similar situations, people normally act this way. It's a crazy demand if this happens. So you write down what your crazy demand is. Okay, we are still on the second section of the workbook, which is moving forward one. You are writing down what you want. Now, you want three things. Number one, you want to know what caused this situation. You ask yourself two things. What were the things that happened that made me, out of other people, more likely to experience this situation? Maybe there was a personal issue in my life that I need to work on. That's what caused this situation to happen. That's what made me more likely to have the situation. Or this person that did this to me, that is their default nature. Maybe that's just the best way they learned how to do things. So you ask yourself these two questions. Were there any personal issues in my life that made me more likely to experience this? Or maybe that's just how this person is. That means that even if it's not me, she would act this way to somebody else. So you find out what caused the situation. You cannot move forward if you do not know what caused the situation to happen. Write it down. Okay, now still in moving forward, what do you want? You want two things. After you have known what caused the situation, after you have known the problems, the negative consequences, the interpretation, the crazy demand, you have all the information now. So you know what you want. You want two things. You want to reduce the negative consequences that you wrote down under the problem, and you want to prevent a repeat of the situation. Okay, uh, my girlfriend slapped me. A negative consequence is that my friends will no longer respect me. If a girl can say this to me and I do nothing, you no longer respect me. So you want to reduce a negative consequence of your friends not respecting you. How do you now, what can you now do to make your friends respect you back? So on whatever you wrote under negative consequences, physically or socially, you want to reduce it. So what you're going to do here, you will write down, I want to reduce or eliminate or stop my friends no longer respecting me. If there was a situation that happened that made you lose money and you're now broke, okay, I want to find a way to get back my money so I'll not be broke. If a situation took away certain privileges, you want those privileges back. You write them down specifically. Don't just write, I want to reduce negative consequences. No. Number two, you want to prevent a repeat of, you write down the situation. I don't want my girlfriend to ever call me a useless goat again. You now write, that's what you want, you write it down. So we're at the last part of problem solving called brainstorming. Know what you want now, you're now writing how to get what you want. How do you reduce the negative consequences and how do you prevent a repeat of the situation? So you can list as many solutions to getting what you want, list as many approaches as you can. You don't really need to care about if it makes sense or not. Just write as much as you can. If you do not know what to write, please ask somebody. It is part of brainstorming. Now, for each solution that you write, you will choose at least the best three. For what looks like it makes sense, the one that most likely looks like it makes sense, you pick that one, write two advantages or two pros, and then you now write two disadvantages of or two cons. Remember that if you do not know an advantage or disadvantage, ask, please. If you do not know a solution, you ask. So you will only carry out a solution or an approach where the advantages or the pros are greater or outweigh the cons. This is simply problem solving. So what you would write in your workbook is this. You would write a minimum of three approaches or 3 solutions to getting what you want. You want to reduce the negative consequences and you want to prevent a repeat of the situation. So you will write down a minimum of 3 approaches, and for each approach, you would write 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages, and then you will now carry out the one that has greater advantages than the next. So the problem solving is a way of practicing avoiding your triggers, to be more specific, your emotional triggers. Now, you know you have successfully completed the practice in this model after you have been able to write down at least 10 situations that happened in the past, either distant past or current present, and you have problems solved for at least 10 of them. This means that you can write down maybe 6 situations that happened in the past, you problem solve it, and then you can now write down 4 current situations that are giving you problems. Maybe your very first 6 situations are 2022. Today is 23rd of April 2025, and then yesterday something happened and it increased your emotions, you're feeling so down and everything. You write it down and problem solve, and then you now engage with whatever solution or approach has more pros and cons. So you need at least 10 problem solving situations completed, else you cannot be said to have practiced problem solving. So 6 past situations and a minimum of 4 current problem situations, and then you know you're done with this model. If you have questions, you can drop them in the comment, and if you want to know more about the Calabar Addiction Recovery Program, send me a hello or a hi, and I'll respond to you. Thank you.